Welcome to College Hoops Under the Radar by OFG Sports. Here's your host, the online sports guys.
Time for another round of Under the Radar, and we are in a no dilly, no dally zone. We are wasting no time this week. John Fox and I will be in the B block, and we may have Mr. Bracketology, Phil Canner, coming up. I think he submitted something a couple days ago. We'll find out when Wilkie edits the show together. But we have our Ricky Henderson for this week. We have our leadoff hitter, the guy that can hit the home run. He can get on base. He does whatever he needs to do. He can go long. He's got the good trot. All of it pieced together. Now we get an education on McNeese, and for that is Chaston Tavares, play-by-play, Grand Exalted Poobah, Gator 99.5. He does McNeese. What do you not do, Chaston? I guess it's probably the question.
I have a lot of hats in a lot of different places, whether it's, radio. I do on-air shifts on a country radio station. I do, hits on sports radio all throughout the state. I do McNeese, whether it be sidelines. I fill in for their play-by-play. I do their color analyst. I do football. I do basketball. I do baseball, softball, whatever they ask me to do. I basically, I tell them I can. I may not be the best, but I can. We'll figure it out, and we'll make it work.
As we said, you're Grand Exalted Poobah of everything McNeese, and that's why we decided to track you down. So then let me ask you this. Since you mentioned that you spend some time, I was about to say spinning albums, but that's no longer the case. I don't know what.
No, it is not.
You hit buttons or something to have MP3s go or whatever it is.
Everything's automated now.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. Since you spend time in country radio, if McNeese basketball was a country song that is popular today, what do you think it would be?
So I don't know if you're going with that's probably the toughest question we might get to today, because the problem is like it's not going to be your Alabamas or your high major team that's going to be kind of a mid-level team. I mean, it's probably a team that you would call that's on the rise, that's trying to make that first step and win that first tournament game. I would have to go with a newcomer, Zach Top, who has really been on the scene and bursting onto everything that is country music. And I think that's the exact same thing that McNeese is trying to do, and that's burst onto the scene and get that first tournament win.
Coming into the 24-25 season, what was the expectation and the vibe around campus? How successful was the idea coming into the year?
Well, look, they're coming off of their first appearance in the NCAA tournament last year, where it was the first time in 20 some odd years, 23 years, they had been to a tournament. And at McNeese, it's the prime position. I don't know how much some of the listeners and some of the viewers know about the Southland Conference, but in the Southland Conference, basically for McNeese, if you're able to get one of those one of the top two seeds, you win two games on your home floor, because the Southland Conference tournament is hosted here in Lake Charles at the Legacy Center because it's a brand new arena. It's been open for a few years. McNeese wins two games on their hardwood floor. You're in the NCAA tournament as long as you're one of those one or two seeds every single year. So you have a prime position. So coming off of the spectacular year they had a year ago, the big thing would be, he brought in, where last year they had a bunch of guys who were looking for minutes. They were guys who, were at bigger schools that were just looking for somebody to give them a chance, give them playing time. Whereas this squad, you have a bunch of high majors who are coming here. I mean, look, Kadir Copeland is a guy who's transferred in from Syracuse, started from Syracuse a year ago. Brandon Murray, who was at LSU, was the SEC Freshman of the Year a couple of years ago, under Will Wade at LSU, went to Ole Miss, went so on, kind of a journeyman. So you've got Sincere Parker was at St. Louis. Bryant Selabunge was at Arizona State. So you had a bunch of pieces. How would they all fit together with returners like Christian Shoemate, DJ Richards, Javon Garcia, and so on and so forth? And also, not only how would they fit together, but who would be the leader? And I think that has been that's still, I think they're still trying to figure that out for the majority part of the season, and the interesting part is, as you progress throughout the season, where last year they had a guy like Shahade Wells, who was the transfer from TCU, who could go in and light it up on any given night. When you needed a bucket, he was the guy. It's kind of how it is. Everybody is that guy, really, because for McNeese, I think they've got eight guys who are averaging nearly 8 points a game, 9 points a game. So it's any given night for any different person on this team. And I think that's been the biggest thing to get adjusted to. In terms of the expectations, look, you only have to, as long as you get that 1 seed or that 2 seed, you're 2 wins away from the NCAA tournament on your own floor in front of your home fans. I think it was no doubt anytime you have Will Wade, it's to get back to the NCAA tournament. And not that the folks here are already spoiled, but they certainly are.
When you look at the early part of the season, the Cowboys are 5-5. Yes, and everybody sits there and it's like, yo, you're 5-5, and you know, people start running smack. But two of those losses were to teams in the Southeastern Conference that are ranked top 25. So what do you think, I guess, what do you think the lessons were coming out of the blocks with this schedule that got you basically to Christmas, and then you just start going gangbusters from there?
Well, so here's how you look at it. You know, when you look at you go, okay, you're 5-5 as you come out of conference play. Okay, one, they had not played their best basketball, and when you look at who they lost to, you lose to Santa Clara at home. It's the only home loss under Will Wade in 2 years in Lake Charles. Santa Clara, a team that's likely bound for the NCAA tournament. You go to Alabama on the road and you lose by less than 10 points. You go to Mississippi State, even though technically that is a game that is a neutral site game. It's not a neutral site game. You're playing it in Tupelo, where it was sold out of Bulldog faithful. You know, so, and you go there and you probably, when you look back at it, I think you play that game now, McNeese wins. And they should have won. They led for 89, 80, 90% of that game, you know, and they lose it there at the end. The biggest part of their issue in the early going was trying to figure out how to close out halves, whether it be the first half or having a lead late in the second half and trying to close the gap because they're not a great free throw shooting team. And they have done a bit better job of it. But again, when you look at that non-conference schedule and you see 5-5, it's look who they played. I mean, Liberty is up there. You know, they play North Texas, they play Santa Clara, they go on the road and play South Dakota State in South Dakota, 20 minutes from the campus of South Dakota State. You know, so that 5-5, it tells a little bit of a story, but it doesn't tell the whole thing. And but when you look at the lessons, look, I think it was a whole lot of feeling out process. McNeese also lost what it could have been and probably is going, probably would have been their best player in Allen Breed, transfer from Providence. He's played 2 games, never played a home game here in Lake Charles inside of the Legacy Center. He goes out after the Alabama game and he hasn't returned. You know, so you lose basically a high volume scorer and was likely going to be the best scorer on the team. So then it's just still trying to figure out, you know, where the pieces fit. And that was the biggest part of the non-conference, was just trying to figure out still with so many new guys where everyone fit into this puzzle.
After Breed, you had to your point, four players in double figures. If you take Breed out of the discussion, 4 players in double figures, and then another 2 that are 8.5 to 10, and you have a lot of minutes. You don't have folks playing a whole lot of 40s. You've got some high 20s on average. You might have a 30 here and there, but you know, you're not playing guys 40 minutes so they get their rest and they're ready for the stretch runs in these games. I think that that's key too. You mentioned going 7 or 8 deep. I think that that's something that can help out a program like this to get all these quality wins, to be prepared for both the Southland Conference tournament and anticipating a trip to the NCAAs.
Yeah, look, if you were to ask Will Wade this question, he would tell you he hates that. He doesn't like playing those 8 to 9 guys. He wants to stick around 6 to 7. Look, I watched him at LSU, and he brings this up quite often. And I remember those teams where they were only bringing one guy off the bench. You know, they were playing 6 guys and, you know, made it to the NCAA tournament, finished second in the SEC that year, playing 6 guys. He likes that 6 to 7 range, but with the way the team is this year, you know, you've got guys like Brandon Murray, you know, the high major transfer coming off the bench. Sincere Parker also comes off the bench. Sincere Parker is 4 games in a row in double figures. He scored back-to-back 20-plus point games. He's come on as of late. Dejon Brown, who was originally set to redshirt, was also set to come off or was also set to redshirt. They pulled the redshirt middle of the year because they had a couple of injuries and needed another point guard. He's there to kind of push the pace a little bit. And then Brian Selabonge also comes off the bench. Again, it's any given night. We ask him a lot, who is the guy you're looking for down the stretch? And he says, I wish I could give you a consistent answer. He said, but in one aspect of it, it sucks because, I don't have that guy. I'm like, okay, hey, go get me a bucket. But if you don't know, well, neither does your opponent. It can be a Javon Garcia who can go down and put his nose down and get you a bucket. Joe Charles underneath, or he can shoot the three. DJ Richards, when he is hot, he's one of the best shooters in the entire country. Christian Shoemate, I'm sure everybody knows about the shoe slams at this point. They're all over. They're all over ESPN and so on and so forth. So it's really any given night for any different guy, and I think that's a good problem to have. I think you would rather see a more consistent guy that you can rely on at any given time. But look, I think it's something they've found the way. I think it's always about adjusting to who you have. Let the guys adjust to your system rather than the alternative.
And you crossed the finish line first in the regular season, 31-point win over Stephen F. You win at Stephen F. for the first time, I think, since black and white television.
Yes.
And I mean, it was 30, and I think that kind of emphasis at the end of the regular season is huge. Distance between McNeese and Lamar in the 1 and the 2, but a big win by 31. What are you going to do for a week? Because, I mean, seriously, you're used to that rhythm and you want to get into a conference tournament, but because of the 4-letter and the time of year, you got to wait a week before your next go-around. What are you going to do to fill the time?
You make the joke that the last time they beat Stephen F. Austin was black and white television. I'm going to show my age here. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
The last time that McNeese won at Stephen F. Austin, I was 1 year old.
Strong.
So that tells you probably everything you need to know. Look, that was a big win, but when you ask about what they're going to do, quite honestly, I think as we shoot on Tuesday, I think Tuesday and Wednesday are kind of their off days, their break days. Review some film, get in the training room a little bit, get a little bit healthy. They've been a little banged up, want to get healthy. I think you love the rest because the conference tournament gets the way that the Southland does things because you want the TV window. And TV decides everything here at this level because it's not like the Southeastern Conference where you're on the SEC network all day, every day. They decide. And look, McNeese, they get the 1 seed. That was a pivotal part in them getting the 1 seed because the 1 seed gets a semifinal game on ESPN, and so does the championship game. So you're getting two nationally televised games. But look, I think you sit back. I think Will Wade and gang will certainly take in a lot of the Southland Conference tournament. It gets started on Sunday with the men and the women. It kind of go together. There's going to be some great games. That Southland bracket, it's tremendous. And when you look at the Southland Conference, this is a league that traditionally you go in. The teams would go in. You're like, okay, we win the tournament. We're going to go play in the play-in game. Then we're going to go get our rear ends whipped by the 1 seed. It's not that way anymore because when you look at it, they're traditionally ranked 28th in the KenPom conference ratings. In 1 year, they're up 7 spots to number 21. No conference makes a 7-spot jump. Normally, your champion is the only one who is inside of the top 200 in the KenPom ratings. This year, they've got 6 teams in the Southland Conference inside of the top 200. That tells you just how much further along that conference has came. And again, you're seeing it, and I don't want to call it the Will Wade effect, but when you look at what they've been able to do, and the conference realizes, oh shoot, McNeese can go in and get a 12 seed. Well, why can't we do that? So you've seen the buy-in. The coaches are much better. Like the coaches in this league are tremendous. The players have been much better. This is a competitive league, man. It's a league that is. It can bog you down. They're gonna pull you. They're gonna hold you. They're gonna grab you. The Southland officiating is not great, but that's what it's all about, man. That's Southland Conference basketball. But again, it's all the week long break is all based off of that TV timeout,
Well,
the TV window.
And since you stole my last question and went ahead and answered it for me, you've obviously read my notes. I guess you could call it, life at McNeese is the WWE, the Will Wade effect. I mean, that, so I don't know if you're trying to lay the smack down or be raw in a situation like this if you're McNeese, but the WWE, the Will Wade effect, is really doing well. 25-6 in the Southland. And since you've stolen all my notes, hit the promo for me so we can get out the door.
That is it. Hey, look, Chaston Tavares, y'all got you. Everybody follow me on social medias at Chaston_Tavares on Twitter, Chaston Tavares Sports on Facebook, and look, hopefully we can see the Cowboys make a little noise there in the Southland or there in the NCAA tournament. If they are to get there, I'm telling you, it's not a given. The conference tournament, it is certainly going to be a hoot.
Well, Jason is officially on our speed dial when we need to have questions answered about anything McNeese. We're going to dial him up and let him go, and we're glad that he is safe under current conditions, considering that we've got the big 44 over there, and it's talking about a whole lot of noise coming from Mother Nature. We're glad you're okay. Glad you could do this. Stay dry, stay safe, and thanks for dropping by, my friend. We will catch up with you soon. Thank you for the education about everything Southland and McNeese.
There it is. Thanks you guys for having me.
When we come back, I think we're going to have Mr. Bracketology. We'll find out in the edit. And then Sly's going to come by and we're going to run smack on some other conferences and find out where we are as we head toward the end of the regular season. Under the Radar continues after this.
The online sports guys would love to hear from you. Check out our X page, formerly known as Twitter for a Rant. Comment or whatever's on your mind about college basketball. Now back to college hoops. Under the Radar, here's your host, Jon Nelson.
Once again, back from a break, and neither Sly nor I know if Mr. Bracketology had a segment. So if in fact Phil did, it played before us. And if he did not, then we're coming back from my Chaston Tavares interview from McNeese, where we got to learn about everything Will Wade. And I was quite fond of my acronym, Sly, where Chaston was talking about everything going on at McNeese, and they hadn't been in the tournament and they hadn't done all these kinds of things, and then all of a sudden they're in the tournament, and he called it the Will Wade effect. And I said, well, certainly it could be WWE. I don't know if it's you're trying to lay the smack down on anybody or if it is just raw when you're talking McNeese. But yeah, so 25-6 in the barn, and it was great to catch up with Chaston Tavares and find out everything McNeese. I think that McNeese can be a true troublemaker when it comes to the tournament.
Yeah, last year they got in trouble in the first round because of lack of size. Depending on who they match up against, I absolutely agree. They should be a problem for almost everybody.
All right. So as you see, for those of us on the video version, one of us is missing, and it's because of real world things. So Sly and I are going to be doing this particular segment. Ha 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 ha. So, sir, topic number one, since we have no tour guide this week, we have no ringmaster. Gunther Gable-Williams is not here to protect the crowd from the Lions.
This is sort of like Hunter Thompson and his attorney being thrown out onto the airwaves without any supervision. So I'm looking forward to that.
You had a continuous topic, I believe, from last week that you wanted to discuss to start things off.
Yeah, so I brought up the novelty of Big Red Boulevard at Cornell University in fabled Newman Arena, where they piloted a program of cordoning off part of the arena to serve alcohol. And judging by the first weekend that this was in play, an alcohol-infused Newman Nation spurred on Cornell to a 63-point first half against Penn.
Damn.
En route to 90-62, and followed that up 2 days later by running up 102 points on Princeton, winning by 32 points. I'm labeling this past weekend Fear and Loathing in Ithaca.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Lord knows what vibes are going through that place, but I'm going to put out a public plea to Cornell University to keep this thing going next year. I would love to do a podcast from Big Red Boulevard next college basketball season, and I'm going to be there as much as I can to participate um, in the fear and loathing that we saw from this
No, I was
past
going to
weekend.
say the economic upturn, the periodic economic upturn in Fear and Loathing in Ithaca for the Big Red Boulevard.
No question about it. There was something going on there because they I don't know the last time if they ever have scored 100 points on Princeton of all things, maybe in 2 games combined. So this is great stuff.
Yale 12-1 as you and I are discussing things. 19-7. They've run the table at home, 11-0, and they have a 4-game lead over Cornell and Dartmouth with 1 to go. And like I said, Yale, the only team right now in the Ivy with a chance to get to 20 wins. And so keeping an eye on the Yale Bulldogs. Bulldogs, Yale. Hello. So are you an Eli? Or, when Eli's come and hide your heart, girl, and you see a bulldog come walking up, I mean, it's the effect is gone. So you're looking at, I think, Princeton right now, they'd have to probably do some noise somewhere because at 18-10, they're the closest to getting into any other tournament. But yeah, Ivy right now is a 1-bid league, and we encourage, how do we phrase this? We encourage economic imagination when it comes to bringing folks together for these kinds of games.
Yeah, the Yale Bulldogs are looking a lot like the British Bulldogs at the moment. So
I just have this vision of the Dynamite Kid, some poor unsuspecting junior diving off a roof in the middle of downtown Ithaca, trying to splash onto somebody, running into an umbrella on the way down, and the umbrella just kind of goes.
Yeah, it's we go any number of directions if we want to make this a WWE under the radar, but I won't go there quite yet.
No.
Yeah.
No. See, but then that would mean who would be the most likely to have a heel turn? But I think in our case, Wilkie would be the face that would have to make the heel turn. You and I would be the heels that would have to go face.
Agreed.
Taking the tour really quickly. ASUN looks like it's a street fight with Lipscomb and North Alabama. Both 23-9, both 14-4. 3, 6, 9, 11, 22. So they don't have 4 games left, I don't think. But right now, Lipscomb and North Alabama, you're 1 and you're 2 in the ASUN, both at 23-9. Bryant and Vermont in the America East. Right now, Vermont is a game behind Bryant, but they're both 19-11. I think it's a 1-bid league, and it's going to come down to the winner of that America East, what's up top, whether it's the Bulldogs of Bryant from Providence, Rhode Island, I believe, and the Vermont Catamounts. I think that's a 1-bid league.
Yeah, fear the Catamounts. They're always dangerous.
Our friends in VCU, the Rams, right now, they've got a 1-game lead on George Mason, as you and I are talking, 14-2 to 13-3. VCU at 24 wins, George Mason at 22. Dayton has now cracked the 20-win barrier at 20-9. So the Palace intrigue continues out of the A10.
Yeah, some SEC team who's 5-11 in the league or something like that is rooting very much for VCU to win that tournament, and not George Mason, because VCU is clearly an at-large team that would steal a bid.
Big Sky, Northern Colorado and Montana are both 15-3. They've got 4 games on Portland, and Northern Colorado's got 23 wins. Montana's got 22. Portland State could get to 20. So you'd have 3 interested parties out of the Big Sky, but I think a 1-bid league right now.
Absolutely.
Big South, our friends at High Point, 3-game lead over Winthrop and UNC Asheville, 26-5. They've won 11 in a row. Keep an eye on High Point, people. That's why we sit here and talk about them.
Maybe the scariest team, not in a major conference. That's not VCU.
All right, so we're kind of alphabetically getting into those conferences that are outside of our purview. What sticks in your mind with B1G and the SEC now that we're here?
So over the next week or two, there's going to be some games that are clearly going to eliminate teams from the bubble. And you may have had one this past weekend where Nebraska had a crippling loss at home to Minnesota. I just can't. I mean, they were in dire straits before. I can't imagine them recovering from that, barring some sort of miracle run in the tournament, Big Ten tournament. And Indiana, of all things, after bottoming out again at home against Illinois about a month ago, I don't know what maybe just the prospect of Mike Woodson leaving has buoyed everyone's spirits there. And they have started to play good basketball again. They have a heck of a game at Oregon tonight as we're taping. I think if they win that game, they've got a real good chance to be in. And I believe they play Ohio State to wrap up the regular season, which the two teams right there in the mix to get a bid. So that's one of those situations where there are 4 or 5 teams looking for maybe 2 to 3 spots, if you believe in such things, and it's going to play out on the court.
You mentioned Indiana. Indiana, after being at Oregon, come home, and you are right. It's the 3:45 game on CBS on the 8th. And so that's right now with those teams, the 3 that you mentioned there in the B1G, you've got a team with 10 wins. Oregon's got 10, and Indiana has 9. They've gone to 9-9 right now. And then you have Ohio State at 8-10 and 16-13. I don't think, unless Ohio State makes a serious run in the tournament, that they're going to be looked at for the field of 64-4. But Indiana at 18-11, you mentioned that turnaround there. If they continue, let's say they win out, they go to 11-9 in conference. That would put them at 20-11 as we're talking. 19-12, 20-11. That's you've gone from moribund to having a pulse when it comes to the tournament.
Yeah, they spent $5 million on the roster. They should get in the tournament, and just the star power of Indiana and the players on there. If they're anywhere near getting in to the field, they will likely be in. Maybe a Dayton game, but yeah.
Yeah, one of those 7-10s or an 8-9 that they throw into Dayton. Big West, our friends at UC San Diego have a 1-game lead on Irvine, and San Diego right now 26-4, Irvine 25-5, Northridge 21-8. So you got to keep an eye on any one of those to come out of the Big West. Sadly, though, I think that it's a 1-bid league, and I don't care who wins the tournament. I think it's a 1-bid league, and I think 2 teams might get screwed.
That would be a shame, because as of last night's games, UCSD is in the mid-30s in the net and the KenPom. That would be it would be criminal if they were left out. But so in one hand, I hope they win the conference tournament to get in automatically, but I also love to see Irvine win it and potentially get 2.
And you mentioned, you mentioned the Southeastern Conference. Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas A&M, Kentucky, Mississippi State, 8 ranked teams. They're all going in.
Yep.
Ole Miss, not ranked, 9-7, 20-9. They're in the middle of the pack. You figure they're in if they get 1, maybe 2 wins down the stretch and maybe a win in the tournament to get to 22-23. Vandy's got 20 wins, and they're 8-8 in conference. So now you're going to have to look at Vandy getting in as the 38th team out of the Southeastern Conference to get it.
Yep.
3, 6, 9, 10 with Vandy. And then you're kind of like, Arkansas and Georgia at 6-10. Georgia came up and bit Florida to get to 6-10. 17 wins for Arkansas, 18 wins for Georgia. That, to me, this whole dynamic now where it used to be 500 in the conference was the old cutoff line. If you were in that room on Sunday, 500 in the conference was the cutoff line. Now with 38 teams in a conference, you have to sit there and you're wondering, okay, how much more grace do I give them after something like this?
I'm wondering, just from an operational perspective, if the tournament can handle more than 12. You put 3 in each region.
Yeah,
that seems doable. More than that seems a little strange. it may happen.
Yeah.
But we have a team like Oklahoma. I've seen some projections of them being one of the last teams in. I mean, they're 4-12 in the league.
Mhm.
How on earth are you going to justify that? Although it may happen because they've got some big wins in the non-conference. But yeah, there are going to be some pretty important games to play out at the end of the regular season in the SEC tournament, which, as we said a few weeks ago, is going to be epic.
B1G, you kind of dipped your toe into that pool a little bit. Right now, 5 teams in the top 25. You figure UCLA is in 12-7, 21-9 as we're talking.
Yeah.
Illinois, if they get one more win, they get to 20. You're Fighting Illini are 11-8, so you're right in there.
Yep.
Then the Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, Brutus, Cassius, and Caesar element that we have, and then you're kind of then it's like because Minnesota's got 15, Rutgers is below 500, Nebraska at 7-11's got 17. How deep into the pool do we get here?
My guess is 10.
Okay.
Yeah, Oregon will get in. My guess is Indiana will get in, and they'll find some way for someone else to get in, whether it's Nebraska or Ohio State or someone else who makes some sort of late push. But it's hard to imagine anything less than 9 for the Big Ten.
Once again, welcome to half of your conference getting in because you have a conference that takes up half of the United States.
Yeah.
Conference USA is a bit of a street fight. Jack State has a half a game lead on Liberty in Middle Tennessee. Jack State, though, has the has the worst win percentage, 20-10. Liberty's got 23 wins. Middle Tennessee is 20-9. Liberty was one of the teams that beat McNeese earlier this season. So if you're looking at compare contrast and quality wins and that kind of a thing, on our level, you're looking at a Liberty and see what happens out of Conference USA. I was about to drop an F-bomb.
Oh,
Street fight in the horizon. Get this. Robert Morris, 15-5 and 23 wins. Milwaukee, a game behind, 21 wins. Cleveland State, a game behind, 20 wins. Youngstown, 13-7, 19-12. IUPUI, the Mastodons, one of the best damn nicknames out there. Uipui Fort Wayne is at 12-8, 19-12. You're going to get a lot of good NIT teams here. I just think the horizon once again is a 1.
Yep.
Same with the Mayak, Quinnipiac, Marist, whoever wins that one. The only one team's got 20 wins right now, and that's Marist. Maction has 2 teams over 20 wins, Akron and Miami.
I know a lot about John Gross, obviously, having coached in Illinois. He's a great MAC coach. They are really good. I don't think they're an at-large team that's going to get in, but if they, along with others, like you mentioned at the horizon, if the right teams win the conference tournaments in these leagues, there are a lot of teams that are going to cause problems. And Akron is not someone I would want to face if I'm a 4 seed.
And maybe Akron goes to Dayton and causes some problems.
Could be.
Just saying.
Could be.
MEAC's going to get 1. Missouri Valley's going to be a mess. Drake is Drake is 27-3. They're too clear.
Yeah.
We're talking. Bradley's got 24 wins. Northern Iowa's got 20 and they're 14 in conference. Belmont 21-10. They've got 13 wins, and then you get to the folks who are fighting to get to 20 wins. So, I think that the Missouri Valley is going to be a street fight. Tell me what else is new, right?
Yeah, the Fighting John Wilkersons of Missouri State almost clipped Drake there over this past weekend, which would have been a disastrous loss for Drake. But
they ain't like us.
Yeah, Drake still has a chance to get in as an at-large if they lose, but with their numbers in around 60, I would love for them to get in as an at-large if that came to be, but they're just better off winning the league.
Mountain
Conference
West.
tournament. Yep.
Mountain West, get this. New Mexico on top, 1 game lead with 23 wins. Colorado State 1 behind with 20. Utah State 1.5 behind at 24. San Diego State 2 behind at 20. Boise 2 behind at 21. And then everybody else falls down. So basically it's like upper half, lower half, Mountain West, and 5 teams could turn that one into a blender.
You could make a case for all 5 getting in. It's not going to happen. I would three three is the most likely, although I'd love to see four. I think Colorado State plays. Can't remember who exactly they play. It's one of those other teams here soon, and that will be an interesting result because that will determine maybe if the fourth team gets in or not.
It is Boise on the 7th in Boise.
That's the one.
Late night game on FS1. So if you are a diehard on the East Coast or just normal behavior on the West Coast, that game, Colorado State and Boise, goes a long way into determining a knockout, probably, at least putting someone on the edge of the cliff, not quite doing the push or the end of the rock formation like we saw with Wile E. Coyote most of the time, standing there and all of a sudden, just, something like that. I'm trying to go through the other conferences and see what we've missed. Northeast is a 1. Central Connecticut right now, 23-6. They're the class. OVC, 2 teams with 20 wins. Southeast Missouri State and Edwardsville. That's going to be a 1-bid league unless somebody causes some chaos. Patriot, nobody's over 20 wins. Americans at 19-12. Southern Conference, UT Chattanooga's at 23 wins. They're on top. Greensboro's 2 behind with 20. Then you go down a little bit. This I didn't know. East Tennessee State, 12 wins in conference, 19 wins. Samford, 12 wins in conference, 22 wins. Furman, 11 wins in conference, 23 wins. So the Southern Conference right now might be some anticipated viewing for folks if they're looking for a conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I've firsthand saw Chattanooga. I'm dating myself. I believe it was 1996 in Charlotte when they beat Georgia in the first round and then beat Illinois in the second round. The team out of that league usually is a problem as well. So whether it's Greensboro, Chattanooga, or whoever.
Fun Belt is chaos personified. South Alabama, James Madison, Ark State, and Troy are all at 13-5. They're all at 13-5 in conference. Marshall is 12-6. So basically 4 teams on top, and then Marshall is in 5th currently. I don't know about drawing lots or penalty kicks or, tiddlywinks or, whatever. The coin flip is probably number 8 when it comes to the tiebreakers. We might get to that when it comes to the Fun Belt. South Alabama's 121, James Madison's 120, Ark State's 122, Troy has 120, Marshall has 119. So 5 teams out of the Fun Belt. Good luck sorting that one out.
Yeah, you're sort of hitting on a trend here with a lot of these conference tournaments are going to be a great watch.
Stupid.
I don't know how much I'm going to get done that week other than watching basketball, but there's some great stuff out there all over the place. I going through these just corroborates everything we've been talking about in this show. And if you're paying attention, there's a lot of good stuff out there to catch.
West Coast, 5 teams over 20 wins. St. Mary's the only one ranked. Gonzaga, 14 wins and 23. San Francisco, 13 wins and 23. Santa Clara, who also beat McNeese as a part of their early schedule. Santa Clara, 12 wins and 20. Oregon State, nice beaver, thanks, just had it stuffed. 10 wins and 20. And then no one else is, you got Washington State chasing 20 wins, but right now, West Coast could be a little bit of fun, but obviously I'm looking at St. Mary's and everybody else.
Well, St. Mary's and Gonzaga are in. I would love to think Santa Clara would be in the low 50s in the numbers. You just never know the result of these conference tournaments and then the big leagues, what's going to shake out there. But unfortunately, I think someone in that league is going to be bitterly disappointed.
And the last one on the board, the WAC, Utah Valley, 21 wins, 13-1 in conference. Grand Canyon. All right. I'm going to use my first time out here in this block.
Yep.
When did they just go to the Lopes? The only thing missing are finger pistols. Were the Lopes of Grand Canyon?
Yeah, I mean it's the same logic, I guess, of going to the Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I absolutely have no idea. Or the
The
Red Storm of St. John's.
well,
No clue.
the orange. I mean, the orange men. How many men are actually orange? I mean, short of the dude in the mascot uniform, I think he's the only orange man, literally, that was on campus. And so I think you try to widen out your thought pattern here. Let's just welcome all the orange instead of just orange man.
Oh,
Anyone who's orange, anything that is orange, hey, Orange Julius, you are welcome at Syracuse. That it's just the orange. You're sitting there. It's like, ooh, you can sit there and have a conversation with the orange.
I,
Uh,
I'm so pig-headed, I never even considered that. So
it,
that's
it is so welcoming. It is a welcoming factor. So
yeah,
we're not just orange men. We're just orange.
yeah.
We're just orange.
Well, I have no idea what a lope is, but
It's an antelope. I mean, because
yes,
like I said, I mean, legitimately, when GCU came online, they're the Antelopes and Thunder Dan and Jerry Colangelo and creating the program and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, it's just like, are you trying to be like, hey, we're a lope, hey, we're the lopes. I mean, one of those. I mean, literally, that's the guy that walked into the party in the '90s movie in the white suit with literally tried to look like Don Johnson, and he was like the nerd on campus, and he comes in looking like Don Johnson season 2 from Miami Vice, and you're sitting there going, that is so 5 years ago.
That I can understand. For some reason, I had a flash. I thought maybe the Lopes were one of the gangs in the Warriors, but that's
Lopes come out
yeah,
and play, yay!
yeah. So that's where I went with that.
Yeah, it's just, but yeah, you go from antelopes, which to me was cool and singular. It was something that no one else had. You're now the lopes. Hey, we're a lope. We're eloping. I mean, to be a lope, then you have to be eloping, don't you?
I'm at a loss. I'm hoping they don't get in now, just so this doesn't have to be a topic of conversation on national
Could you
networks.
imagine the desk discussing everything lope?
I
I mean, look,
I hope Clark
look, the,
Kellogg
the
doesn't have to
campus
resort to
the
that.
campus dietitian might be named Kanta. I don't know.
Oh gosh. See, there that is also orange. So that's maybe that's the whole tie-in with Syracuse.
Yes. So what else is on your sheet in white? Or are you wearing that shirt, sir? I buried the lead.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me. After last week, I cut a lot of flack up here. I mean, universally, people hate my Syracuse sweatshirt, and yeah, it's I don't know if I've struck a nerve up here, but I think that is going to be uh, forever banned from this podcast.
Why?
So yeah, I
Why are you succumbing to public demand?
uh, I think it's because one of the people is my wife. So
Ah, okay. All right. No,
that's yeah.
understandable. I got that.
Yeah. So as a result, I've gone the complete opposite and gone the with the peacock uh, pattern. I guess you know psychedelia and college basketball is a match made in heaven. So
I was
I'm
thinking that
going
you
with
just I was thinking you just went to 30 Rock and shook hands with somebody or stole a bunch of feathers.
it. That's another plausible uh,
Uh,
scenario.
all right, so let's wrap up with hoops on a budget, and you can give me thumbs up and down. And what we traditionally do for college football, it's $9. For hoops on a budget, it is decidedly less. So here we go. Um, Noon Saturday, and these are the Saturday games because we want to give you a runway to book your tickets or do your walking or bike to wherever. So Saturday noon, ACC, NC State and Miami, the Watsco Center in Coral Gables. Get in price on the CW. I want my $2.
I'm in on that. Our cat also is just voicing his approval for that $2 game as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Loyola Chicago and UMass at the Mullins Center in Amherst at 12:30, $5.
I'm in. That's not a bad drive from here. So in at Amherst.
Georgetown and DePaul, 2 o'clock from Wintrust in beautiful downtown Chicago. Get-in price, $2.
If it were 1982 to 4, I would say yes, but absolutely not these days.
Tech and Wake is $6 in Winston-Salem at the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum.
No, ACC is unwatchable in the middle of the league, unfortunately.
Cincinnati, Oklahoma State on Saturday, 3 o'clock at the Gallagher-Iba. Get-in price, $3.
Pass out.
Texas A&M and LSU at 4 o'clock from the Maravich Assembly Center in Red Stick. Get-in price, $2.
Absolutely in.
TCU in Colorado at 4 from the CU Event Center in Boulder. Get-in price, $5.
Any reason to go to Boulder? Yes.
SMU and Florida State, same time at the Tucker Center in Tallahassee. Get-in price, $5.
I'm going to defer to you on that one. Okay, good.
That's a thumbs blank down is what that is. Let's see. Once again, setting the bar. Okay, Cal Poly and Long Beach State at the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach. Get-in price, $6.
Yes. Long
Absolute.
Beach.
That
Yes.
is an absolute.
Yes.
Texas Tech and Arizona State at the Desert Financial Arena in Tempe. Maybe the play is a mirage, $5.
Yep. Any reason to go to Tempe? Yes.
Virginia and Syracuse, $2.
No.
Duquesne and St. Louis at the Heifetz in St. Louis, $4.
Had a lot of fun at the Landing in St. Louis in college, so yes to that.
And so there are a couple that are $7. Butler and Creighton at CHI Health in Omaha for $7.
Pass.
And then Marist and Mount St. Mary's from Knott Arena in Emmitsburg, Maryland for $7.
Yeah, that's not a bad drive down 15 in on that.
On the flip side, as we wrap up Hoops on a Budget, this is not on a budget. Alabama and Auburn. Iron Bowl Hoops, 2:30, Neville Arena, Auburn, Alabama. Get in, like literally get in, and do not be surprised if it is in fact just you getting standing room somewhere in that building. $369 in the battle of number 1 versus number 7 Iron Bowl Hoops.
Unless I can get in with Paul Feinbaum, I'm watching that one on TV.
As you should. Any other thoughts before we get out of here now that Wilkie's going to sit there and go, oh my God, what have they done?
Yep. I don't know if we'll ever be allowed to do this again, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yep, a lot of great stuff to watch here over the next week. Let's see what happens.
Definitely. Great to catch up with Chaston Tavares and find out everything McNeese. Always great to see you, Sly, and Wilkie. You're on your own. Hopefully, Mr. Bracketology had an insert segment. I don't know because the mail didn't get sent to me. I don't know.
Good stuff. Well, we'll talk next week.
Please like and subscribe.